right, I think we're all ready to go. It is 6:30. Welcome, everybody. Good to see live bodies in our audience all the time now. So this meeting, October 25th, 2022, is now called to order. First item on the agenda is going to be any changes, requested changes to tonight's agenda as published. Hearing none, seeing none, can I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda as published?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as published.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All the way around. Thank you. Very good. We're in. All right. So if you'd please join me and us to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for just a brief moment of silence. You may be seated. Thank you. All right, we'll just move down to general public comments. I understand there are no general public comments.
No general public.
Okay, very good. We'll go down to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda as published, please?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All the way around. Thank you. Recognitions. First one up. Town Manager Jeffrey Wells, you can handle this one.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everybody. I would like to read the proclamation in support of World Polio Day. So this is Proclamation 2022-010. Whereas Rotary is a global network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. Whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. Whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to immunize the children of the world against polio. Whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. Whereas to date, Rotary has contributed more than the $2.2 billion in countless volunteer hours to protecting nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries. Whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Whereas these efforts are providing much needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. Whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to the effort. Whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotary members in 36,000 clubs throughout the world that sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in their local communities and abroad. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed, I, Ronald P. Pappas, Mayor of the town of Waxhaw, do hereby proclaim October 24th, 2022 as World Polio Day in Waxhaw, and encourage all citizens to join me and Rotary International in the fight for a polio-free world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. What a great organization. They are one of our community partners here in town. They do great work. They volunteer a lot for us, and a lot of us are members of the local Rotary Club here, so they are busier than we are, I think, some days. They really do contribute and put in a lot of time, so I'm glad we were able to do that for them. All right, so we'll drop to the next item, Waxhaw Police Department recognitions. We have Chief Greg Collins. Greg, come on up.
All right, Sergeant Feiga and Officer Ferguson, if you'll come just stand over here, I guess. Thank you, everyone. Tonight I have with me Sergeant Michael Feiga, and Officer Jeremy Ferguson and their families back here and supporters, co-workers. I'll start with Sergeant Feiga. He's the one in the suit. He leads one of our 4 patrol squads whose primary functions are keeping our citizens safe and responding to calls for service 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Sergeant Feiga has been employed with the Waxhaw Police Department since 2008, and prior to that, he worked for the North Carolina Department of Corrections. While employed with the Waxhaw Police Department, Sergeant Feiga has served as a patrolman, a narcotics detective, a patrol sergeant, and a detective sergeant. Sergeant Feiga is also currently a task force officer in partnership with Homeland Security on the Narcotics and Gang Task Force. Sergeant Feiga has served on the Special Response Team for 13 years. Sergeant Feiga and his wife just celebrated their 19th anniversary last week, and they have 3 children ages 16, 12, and 8 that are also back here on the back row. A quote from Sergeant Feiga when asked about this introduction: "I feel so blessed to work for one of the best departments in the state. The outpouring of support we receive from our citizens on a daily basis is what makes the town of Waxhaw stand out, and I'm blessed to serve the wonderful citizens of this town." Next, we have Patrol Officer Jeremy Ferguson. Officer Ferguson stated he would love the opportunity to introduce himself to all of our town leadership. Might not have used the word love, but
He's blushing.
he said more than willing or something along those lines.
If you'd like to go to the microphone, that'd be better. For the recording. I thought you were kidding about that, but you're not.
No?
As bad as I am.
So I'm not very well at talking about myself, so I've revamped this about 15 times, and my lovely sergeant had the fortunate time to read this every time to make sure it was adequate. I began my public safety career at age 14 when I became a junior volunteer fire department or firefighter with a local department. I fell in love with public safety from that point. When I turned 18, I became a paid fireman, full-time paid engineer. Shortly thereafter, I've obtained many certifications with the fire department, including my North Carolina Firefighter 2 cert, emergency rescue technician, emergency medical technician, and rescue scuba diver as well. I left the fire department in 2011 to begin my law enforcement career with the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff until 2016 when I was hired at this wonderful place, which me and my wife were riding through. We had some friends that lived down here, and we absolutely fell in love with the town instantly. And about the same time, there was a sign in front of the police department that said, "We're hiring." And from there, about 9.5 months later, I was hired on here in 2016. Currently, I hold the rank of Master Patrol Officer 1. I have over 1,000 hours of law enforcement training. I'm one of the field training officers here at the department, training our newer officers. I'm also on the special response team with Sergeant Feiga, and I'm the designated sniper with the department. Me and my wife have been married for 10 years, and together we have an 8-year-old son. And we live here. He goes to school here. We love it. So thank y'all.
It's a great town, and thank you for your service to us all the time. We love to have this. I'm enjoying now this opportunity now with the chief introducing all you guys, because we didn't get to always see that. And I'm really enjoying being able to get to know and see you guys. I see a lot of you on the street when I'm out there as well, but I even had one of your own come up to me one day, and we were talking for about 15 minutes. He says, "Oh, and what do you do for the town?" Well, we got a problem. So I appreciate that, Chief, in getting
Yes,
that.
sir.
He'll probably bust me for it tomorrow when he sees me, but I appreciate this opportunity to get to know these guys, let them get to know us. We are one big family here. This is part of, when I say staff, this is part of our staff, all of you. So I want you guys to recognize that and acknowledge it, that we feel that way about you guys. So thank you very much for both of you and what you do for us.
John, if you'll just stand up here for a few more minutes and suffer through. When the town town manager, Mr. Wells, told me of the request to do the introductions like this as a way to get to know the officers better and vice versa. I thought it was a great idea. I also thought that whenever possible, we should use this opportunity to also recognize great work. And this recognition does not come from me. This comes from a mother whose son is now a Waxhaw resident. And let me share her words with you. Good evening, Sergeant Feiga and Lieutenant Cohn. I'm writing after speaking with a wonderful woman in your police department today who passed along both of your emails. There was an incident on Howey Street last evening, 10:13, involving my son, Thomas, who was having a mental health crisis. Officer Jeremy Ferguson was the main officer who I spoke with and helped Thomas from my understanding. Thomas just recently moved to North Carolina from New Hampshire, where he had lived all of his life. He has no one down there aside from his girlfriend. I still reside in New Hampshire and received a call from my son about 5:30 p.m., bawling his eyes out and saying he was going to end his life. Imagine how this feels as a parent who is 12 hours away from their child. I had my fiance call your department so that someone could check on Thomas's welfare. I was extremely worried as this had never happened before. The dispatch operator promised that the officer on scene would call me back with an update to ease my fears and let me know if my son was okay once everything was over. Well, he definitely did. Officer Ferguson was so incredibly nice, polite, caring, and I could tell he was truly just a great guy with a great heart. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Waxhaw Police Department and especially to Officer Jeremy Ferguson for going above and beyond for Thomas and taking the time to get to know him, to talk to him, calming him down, and truly caring. This officer spent a good amount of time with my son talking about cars, racing, etc. Really anything to get his mind out of the pace that he was in, and the thing that touched my heart the most was that Officer Ferguson told my son to call him personally if he is feeling like that again. He would personally come over and talk to him, chat about Subarus, racing, etc. That is not something that would ever happen in the city that I live in, and I would have been lucky to even get a call back or even an update. I am sure that you get a lot of complaints on the regular about many things, but I really wanted to give credit where it is due in this case. I do apologize if others were involved and I wasn't made aware of their names, but I truly owe all of you a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. I spoke to Miss Williams today, and she told me that her son continues to do a little better than he was a week or two ago. And she again took the time to heap praise upon our department, from Christina, the administrative assistant that assisted her with the emails on the phone, to Officer Ferguson, and to, I quote, everyone there. I've got one more piece of business to take care of before we move on. One of the things that we have done in my first month here in Waxhaw is to establish the Chiefs Award for Excellence. Tonight it is my honor to present the award for the first time. The Chiefs Award for Excellence is presented to an officer for a single operation, incident, or investigation. Receiving the Chiefs Award for Excellence means an officer has visibly upheld the ideals, and core values of the town of Waxhaw, the Waxhaw Police Department, and the profession of law enforcement. The officer has performed his or her duty in an exemplary manner that demonstrates a high degree of professionalism, commitment to public service, or personal sacrifice. The officer's actions are an excellent example for others to follow. To wit, on the night of October 13th, Officer Jeremy Ferguson and Sergeant Michael Feiga encountered a citizen of Waxhaw suffering from a mental health crisis. Officer Ferguson and Sergeant Feiga treated this young man like we would all hope that our son or daughter would be treated when in distress. Officer Ferguson and Sergeant Feiga's patience, care, and understanding extended beyond just this subject in need, but included the mother and family of the young man. From start to finish, this call for service could not have been handled in a better fashion. As most good supervisors do, Sergeant Feiga directed all the praise to Officer Ferguson for this incident. It recently came to my attention that Sergeant Feiga was much more involved in supporting the family than I was originally told. Therefore, Officer Ferguson and Sergeant Feiga will both be awarded the Chief's Award for Excellence. And unfortunately, Sergeant Feiga will receive his physical award next week when it's completed. But I wanted to recognize him publicly this evening as we talked about this incident. Gentlemen, when you fail, we fail. But when you succeed, we all succeed. Thank you for an excellent job that night. Here we just have a little something that you can set on the mantle or whatever you want to at home. But it's the Chief's Award for Excellence for the first two recipients, Officer Ferguson and Sergeant Feiga. Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Well, that is Waxhaw family, right there. So thank you for that, Chief, and thank you, both of you guys, for being here in the town of Waxhaw for us all. We really appreciate that. So it's good to see. And it's not, this program, I'm enjoying this program. So thank you again, Chief, for bringing it forward to us. And we look to see it every meeting, actually. All right. All right, so we'll go to presentations. Now we have South Piedmont Community College, the bond presentation. We have with us tonight Dr. Maria Farr, Chris Rivera, and we have Renee Hode in there. So you guys can have the microphone, tell us what you're all about. But I think first you got to tell us the real reason why you're here.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners and other leaders of the town of Waxhaw and citizens of the town of Waxhaw. That last presentation says a lot about this town. And since I have lived here, there's something about Waxhaw where you feel the small town feel. And that is the type of quality of life that brings people to this community. And what we're going to talk about today is the Center for Entrepreneurship. The Center for Entrepreneurship came about from need. We all know that in the past couple of years, there have been a lot of ups and downs. And there was a huge effect on our way of life from the pandemic. And that pandemic wasn't just about the virus, it was about our community, and it was about our businesses. And although there was federal money that was coming to our states and to our communities to help our small businesses, there was a lot of confusion about how to get those resources. And so a concept like the Center for Entrepreneurship is an idea that helps to support our businesses, either entrepreneurs who are considering a business or those small businesses that already exist and that need the extra supports. And we have a Center for Entrepreneurship on the ballot on November 8th. You will see it on there as the community college bond. But we're not here to advocate. We are here to educate, because the most important thing we can do is to provide the information so that when you do see something on the ballot, you can make an informed decision about how to move forward. And so today, I want to bring to the stand here Renee Hode. She is the Director for Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and she's going to talk about why now and give you some data, statistics, and ideas about what the center means for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farr. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to share more information about a Center for Entrepreneurship. This is a way to create a more vibrant ecosystem right here in Union County and help our businesses grow and flourish. So as Dr. Farr said, we're going to begin with why entrepreneurship and why now. And I think most of us know in the room that it's young and small businesses that drive our economy. So I'm going to show you some statistics that will support that. When we look at small businesses and we look at them by the age of operations, those businesses that are operating in less than 5 years, is what stimulates the most jobs in our community. That is where we're growing and developing and creating opportunity for individuals in our community to gain employment, to work, and provide service to those citizens in our community. When you look at businesses that are less than 9 years or less than 10 years old, we're looking at it being stagnant. Not a lot of job creation. They're helping support our economy, but really when we're looking at the quality of life and helping grow individuals in our workforce is through our small businesses that are young. So moving on to small businesses, I think we all know that the majority of the businesses in our nation are small. Again, that's what's driving and keeping our economy moving forward. But when we really drill down and look right here in Union County, you're looking at businesses. We like to look at small businesses as 49 or less employees. And when we look at that data, we have about 5,200 businesses that are small businesses right here in Union County. If we think back to the first slide where we see those young businesses within their first 5 years are where the most jobs are created, that's where we see a huge opportunity for us to continue to support those businesses so they can grow and develop, but then also begin to produce more businesses so that we can keep the cycle moving forward. History will show that within the first 5 years is where we see the most churn with businesses that get started where they fail. So how can we support those efforts to make sure that they're moving forward and they're growing? And that is really looking at what we're working on in the Center for Entrepreneurship. But then when we talk about specifically why now, part of that is what Dr. Farr mentioned is, we saw that instance of COVID. COVID is something that hit us where you could actually see core values change. Core values generally don't change in an individual. You keep pace with that. But when something as phenomenal as the COVID had occurred, that made us start to rethink. And a lot of individuals start thinking about small business and opportunities to share more time at home with their families. How can I do that? How can I still use my experience and my skills? So in the past year, we saw a dramatic increase in the number of small business filings. More businesses were created over the last 5 years than they have been. And that's pretty much double what we see based on that first date there. And I apologize, I can't see the year. I need some new glasses. 2018, yeah, so that doubled basically from 2018 to 2021, and we're seeing that to continue to grow as we move forward. So when we look at that, we know that entrepreneurship is really the pillar of our economy. We know that we have 5,200 small businesses operating present day here in Union County, and we know that small businesses are what's going to create the job, the quality of life, and give, certainly opportunity for our citizens. So when we think about that, we think there's absolutely an opportunity for us at South Piedmont Community College to go ahead and create a center for entrepreneurship that can service our community by being a collaborative partner with other resource providers that exist within the community. We're not doing this alone. We're looking to do this in partnership and bring on other resource partners so that we have an ecosystem, a centralized place where individuals will know where to go if something like COVID happens, and they know where they can get resources and can get connected to those tools that will help them either start or grow their business. So we're looking at this to service those who are at ideation stage all the way through succession planning. So everything in between we'll be able to handle through this small business, through the Center for Entrepreneurship. So again, it'll be really focused on a centralized resource. We know that there are a lot of members of our community, like SCORE, like the Women's Business Center, like other groups that are providing service to small business, but there's a disconnect. Everyone's working in silos, and if we work together, we're stronger. We want to be that flagship, bringing the people together and those organizations together so we can better leverage resources and support the small businesses as our long-term growth strategy. So then when we look at how we're going to move forward and do this, we're really targeting 5 principles for success. And that's learning, connecting, competing, launching, and growing. And I'll drill down on each of those to give a little bit more depth. So when we look at learning and we think about entrepreneurs, we need to provide them experiential, hands-on experiences and give them opportunities to learn and grow in an area that's safe and where they can express their creativity. So we will do that by providing different types of learning opportunities, connecting them to peer-to-peer learning, peer-to-expert learning, and then also having them work on things like MVP, minimal viable products, looking at design thinking, things that will nurture their creativity and thought process so that they can start moving forward and then building on fundamentals to grow the business. Or if they're existing, looking at how we can help them put together strategy and processes to grow right here in Union County. The next thing we look at is connections. We know that social capital is imperative for a small business. Who can open that next door for them when they're moving through the process of getting started and getting to know their community and what opportunities lie ahead? So with that, we will connect them with different partners, professionals that are already operating in our community, providing services like legal or CPA services. In addition to that, we will make sure that there is a mentor network, so they will be connected and be able to come in, sit one-on-one, and discuss where they are, what their opportunities are, what their challenges are, so that we can help them move forward. So the connections will be key, and they are key for our small business community. Next, we'll look at competitions. Competitions are a great way to build confidence for a young startup entrepreneur. Let them test their ideas and let them have an opportunity to receive seed capital. Sometimes people are not bankable. They may have a great idea, but they don't have the means to move forward with it. The competition aspect will give them an opportunity to achieve seed capital to move the idea forward. And we're also looking at that from a challenge perspective. Towns like Waxhaw, towns in Union County in general, have different problems. How can we help solve those problems? By putting a challenge forth before our entrepreneurial community. Let the entrepreneurial mindset work so that they can present solutions to those different problems that can be solved for our town and could possibly create a new business enterprise for them. Next, we're looking at, we've given them training, we've helped connect them to people, we've gotten them a competition where they might have earned some seed capital. Now, how do we help them launch? That's where the rubber meets the road, and we need to connect them to those professionals and launchpad services. So that will be part of the Center for Entrepreneurship, where individuals can come in and they will also have access to those services, whether that's helping them formalize their business, setting up an LLC and things of that nature, or whether it's marketing to help them get their first campaign out there and build awareness about their product or service. And then we move on to how do we help them grow? So we've talked about building businesses and getting them started, but those that are already operating, those 5,200 businesses that are already here, certainly we want to be an open door access point for them so that we can help them with training and connections that will help them further develop and increase job creation in our community. We'll do that by looking at systems and processes. Generally, and when we're looking at growth, those are the two things. We need resources, we need money to help those businesses move on. So we will help connect them to those particular resources and build out those strategic growth plans. From there, we will also connect them to different services that are at the college as well as in the community, apprenticeship programs, things of that nature, or work-based learning, so that we can make sure that we're employing people and getting them connected, that talent pipeline connected to those businesses that are starting and operating. So with that, we feel our approach is unique. We're unique in that we're collaborating with others. We're not doing this alone. South Piedmont doesn't have the answer by itself. Again, we're stronger when we work together in a community, and we're stronger when we can leverage those resources to help our local citizens grow, whether that's by helping them create a new business or helping them grow their own business right here in Union County. So with that, I will open it up for any questions you may have, or you can feel free to send follow-on questions to me via email.
Very good. Any questions? I will say, if you could also describe to us how this, we'll call it this campus, looks and works. I've been intimately involved in the process, but some of the others might not have been. And so as I see this, this was a grant of land from the Tyson family as well, as I remember right. It was about $1.5 million grant right there for the land. And we did have some real estate issues to resolve along the way, and we were successful in doing that. But I think this thing, certain people's perceptions of what this facility is, if I remember right, it's a single building, it's about 20,000 feet. So it's far different than maybe some people's perceptions. So maybe if you can elaborate a little bit more on the building itself, the footprint, and how it might work inside?
Sure. Yeah, this is not a traditional academic building with, 10 classrooms. It is not like that. A Center for Entrepreneurship is designed specifically for the purposes that Renee described. So it is going to operate in, it's a fairly flexible space. And yes, we did receive a land donation in order to do this. So the space itself, though, is designed, you didn't talk about the hot desks and such.
If I may, I apologize, I did not speak to that. It's intentionally designed so that it is flexible, open, collaborative space. That's going to help build community connections and connect people to different resources. So there will be hot desks, idea rooms. It will have that co-working feel and co-working opportunities, which I know that is something that's lacking in our community in terms of having adequate access to co-working space to support our small business community.
And we are very grateful for the relationship that we have here with the town leadership, and this is a true partnership. And when I came here, I saw this bag, Shop Local, and Ashley Knoll, I believe you were part of designing that. That's what this is all about. When I started and talked about the way of life and the quality of life and that feeling that you have when you're here, a lot of that has to do with going to Dream Chasers, or visiting the businesses here. That whole spirit of community generally has to do with not only the values of the town itself, which is part of what this is about, but it is also about supporting the places that we dine and shop that make this unique. And so the idea is different. And I also have Chris Rivera here, who's a full week of employment with the college. But the reason I wanted them both here is South Piedmont, as a community college, we have a very extensive mission. But what we're really focusing on is the service that we give to our business community. And so Chris is our Vice President of Business Solutions, and that is a new area of the college reporting directly to me. I want there to be a true emphasis here. Our Small Business Center, entrepreneurship, customized training, apprenticeship and work-based learning is all part of this department. So we're making a true concerted effort to support our business community. And we also want to mention that if you have any questions, we are very open. And again, the whole point of this is education. So there is information, FAQs on our website that you see up there, but we are very open to receiving questions so that we can keep everybody informed.
Very good. Any thoughts, comments? Commissioner Simpson, I see you're nodding your head.
Hey, question that I have for you that I've heard from citizens is two things. Is one, I think they think this as a traditional campus and you would have lots of students. Could you just maybe speak to like what you would expect for like the amount of people being there at one given time, or the traffic or congestion, because I think that tends to come up a lot.
Just talk about it from the small business perspective.
Yeah, most definitely. When we're operating now, our small business center, it's not dedicated times where you're going to have an influx of traffic. We may have programs that will bring in students for training, but we're talking about maybe 20 or 30 students in a cohort that would be going through a targeted accelerator program. When we're looking at the co-working space, that would be individuals that are coming out to operate out of the facility, their business. So they would come in morning hours, and that would be a handful based on the footprint of the campus itself or the center itself. So we wouldn't have an influx of traffic. A lot of programs would be in the evenings for those that are looking to start and operate a business. Most of them are working day jobs, and they're looking to how can I break out of that and start learning more about starting my business. So they would be evening hours, which wouldn't really affect traffic in terms of your traditional 9 to 5 transition where you're seeing the most traffic in town.
So it sounds like the traffic concerns or the thought of like a traditional school hours of people coming and going to classes, that's not what this is. So it sounds like it's going to be a handful, trickles here and there perhaps, unless you're having a program with about 20 or 30 people.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's specifically why it is called a center, is not a campus.
Perfect. And then one of the other questions that I had got was that if everything goes as planned, when will it be open?
Well, if the bond passes on November 8th, the money we get immediately. We have the opportunity. We already have an architectural firm because we employed one to design the facility so that we could get a true cost of what it was going to take to construct it. So as soon as we can get all of our permits, we are ready.
And speaking along those lines on cost, being the builder developer that I am, so I know that COVID and a lot of the things like we're facing right now, even in our town campus, along the ways in our parks, costs of development and construction have gone up significantly, and that's probably some of the reason why you're here today. Will you share with everybody what the anticipated cost right now today is? I know we can't hold it to it, but can you tell us what that cost is?
Yes, the bond is $32,725,000, and it was costed. We engaged the county to determine what contingency and escalation costs were, and so that is the amount on the bond. The debt service for $100,000 of property value would be $8.50, and it will not start until payback will not start until 2024. Now, in terms of we are ready, and so I did mention permitting. That would be that is out of our control, but the money becomes available to us instantaneously. And generally, because we have to go through state construction, it's a little bit slower. So usually when we're looking at a building, 15 to 20 months, somewhere in that time frame.
Very good. Any other thoughts and questions anybody want to share? Commissioner Morey.
How are you? My question was, some folks are familiar with the term business incubator. Will this be somewhat similar? Will it be an opportunity for small local businesses to use the facility as they were using it at another facility here in town not too long ago?
I think that's where the co-working space comes into play, and then the Launchpad services that we'll have. Launchpad services will help support businesses that are getting started in that incubation phase, and then there will be facility available for use through the co-working model.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Member Tim, anybody? Great, any questions? That's a great presentation. It'd be a great thing to have here in our community. I know it's been a long time coming, and we'd surely like to see its success and have you guys be here, part of our community and helping our community grow. So,
Absolutely. And
thank you.
for the opportunity to speak to you today.
thank you, all of you. Thank you very much. All right, the next one, you guys get me. Oh no, 2 hours? You want to shut off your timer? Anyway, I wanted to bring forward, we haven't talked about this hardly at all, if at all, in my role as chairman of the CRTPO. Chairman of the CRTPO is the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. And as a mayor, all the mayors in this organization get a seat at that table, that board. Last year, about this time, I got elected to chair that board, and I continue in that role today. But one of the things I want to talk about today a little bit is just to bring you just a short snapshot of things. One of the most interesting thing that's going on right now is the talk about the I-77 managed lanes. That seems to get a lot of ink in the press lately, a lot of misinformation, a lot of social media hype, good and bad, all over it. But kind of want to take you down a little bit of a road on how that started. So in about 2007, CARPO, which was in Mumpo, it was decided that that time they were going to design and fund the managed lanes. So it's always been a managed lanes. Managed lanes can sometimes be called toll lanes, but managed lanes are different from toll lanes, is that you go into those lanes by choice instead of going like through a toll road somewhere where everybody pays that fee. So that's a little bit of the difference. And it was again approved and put on the STIP, which is the State Transportation Improvement Program, in 2010. And in 2014, and in 2015, in 2016, in 2018, and now again in 2022. Now, it is a funding issue that DOT, and we know some of their challenges, that they're $12 billion, or we call overprogrammed, we understand that, but it essentially says we have projects on the board that we can't fund. 12 billion is a big number. So now they have to deal with their issues, but it affects all of us here in the region. And so there have been some conversations along the way with the now existing north side of the DOT managed lane projects. And there were some comments about how it was done. I think it's kind of fortunate, for at least from my standpoint, that I wasn't there at the time, so I can get a fresh look at this. And I've been talking to a lot of our people in the area. Also had direct conversations with the NCDOT board chair and also with Secretary Boyette himself. And so I've got a pretty clear understanding of their financial situation. And I think it comes down to the simplicity of, is the project necessary? Do we want it? Which I think seems that everybody can agree on that. And then how do you fund it? And so the provider now that is providing the service for the north lanes, the north section of it, is in a position, they have it in their contract, that they could do what they call by term, and I don't know why they chose this term, an unsolicited proposal. So the unsolicited proposal isn't that, hey, we didn't want it, you're forcing it on us, whatever. It is actually a part of their existing contract that they could come back to DOT and say, we'd like to do this again. Now, DOT then has to decide if they want to do it and how. It's a process that starts from almost square one again. So I think there's a lot of misinformation out there in the press. We've been having programs that DOT and some of the other providers have come to us and presented us information, some of it which I was reading to you today, but the gist of it is we have to sit down and gather up all the information we have so that we can make an informed decision on what to do next. We're not talking about the provider, we're not talking about the project, the contract, because that isn't what we do at CARPO. CARPO is the affectionate name for CRTPO. And so we now have been asked to be a very integral part of that program with NCDOT, to the point where CARPO can actually stop the project by their decision at any point in time before construction. So we have a lot of leverage here, and we have a lot of information. We have a lot of, if you want to say it this way, we have a lot of power here. But they've granted it to us because they want our help with it, and we really do appreciate that. So going forward on this, that we're probably some time away before we make any type of decision about this kind of funding, because that's basically what it is a funding model. And what could be, what's proposed in an unsolicited proposal is an outside finance group would come to the region and finance that. Now what it does, so much like our budgets, we get X amount of dollars a year to spend. That's our budget. And NCDOT is no different. But this particular project could be north of $2 billion. And if NCDOT has about $8 billion a year to spend, that's a significant part of their budget that they have to spread all of that statewide. And so much like projects that we do, we look sometimes for outside financing. I know a lot of them that I've done, I'll find an outside finance component to me, so I don't have to have it on my books necessarily, but I can also then take the money that I do have, the available money, and I can spread it across projects that actually are active. So this particular financial situation would then allow an outside provider, hasn't been decided, hasn't been even discussed. We know the presentation and the solicitation is on the table. We know that's there, but DOT would now have to go through an entire process on how to vet out any candidate that wants to come and participate in this type of finance program. And then we along the way would have input to process. We'd probably have some input onto the structure of the agreement. I think that's been a sticking point on some of it. It probably didn't follow as tight of a procedure as we have now outlined in the last year that I've been chair of that board, and I think that that's going to be significant to recognize that we're starting fresh and that we are going to look at every aspect of the project. I think that we have pretty much consensus around the region that this is a necessary project, but I will tell you it's a very complex project. One of the things that came up in one of our presentations recently is that the statement that every overpass, bridge, on-ramp, off-ramp, train crossing on 77 from the state line to where it connects in the north would have to come out. That's significant. That's a lot of work. See my builder friends going, yeah, that's a lot of work. It is. It's a lot of work. And so it's a very complex item to put up. So just wanted to let you guys know that we are processing all of that. Nobody's making any decisions on it. If we made a decision next, it would be go to the next step to see, is this really viable? We're talking about all these things that have to happen, but when you get boots on the ground, you know, can you move that railway, and how does that work? Can you move the bridge? Do you have enough real estate to do it? Let's go through the whole process of the acquisition of rights-of-way all along up and down the side there. So there's a lot of work. So wanted to have you guys, it gets in the press. I got a call this afternoon, and DOT got the same call about some interviews again with the press. I'll be on TV more than I want to this week, but you know, it's just, again, it's informational. I want to let you guys know that we're playing our role in it as far as CARPO, and since I vote and sit on that board as well, I'm going to keep you guys informed as we make progress. And this is probably the most significant thing that's been on the agenda since I've been on that board, and certainly since I've chaired it. So just wanted to let you guys know that. Short and sweet presentation, but I just wanted to give you guys a little update on it in case you hear differently. So any thoughts, Commissioner Hall?
I would not miss this opportunity for sure.
You get 2 hours.
So I think what is not to be understated is the actual importance of the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, the CRTPO, how important it is to this region. And the way I'm communicating with citizens, and I always explain to them, you got to follow how the money flows in the state of North Carolina. And as we all know, the number one priority for us in this town is widening of 16, the Cuthbertson corridor. These are really important to us. And so we can get really upset about those projects not taking hold, and we can say we want to go to Raleigh and we're going to stomp our feet with that. But it's not going to go anywhere because the money flows to the CRTPO, where the mayor is chairman. So this will be relevant as I'm going to bring this full circle on that. So we understand, based on the comments you've made, that unfortunately the North Carolina Department of Transportation isn't as fiscally responsible as even our town, perhaps. So as a result, we're competing a lot with other projects in order to get something done. You've just mentioned a fairly significant one. I think that number is quite large, at $2 billion. I would think Cuthbertson Road and 16 are probably less, but to your point, we're competing with these other projects, not just in our area, but a greater area in the Charlotte regional, the Charlotte regional area. So we have to come up with solutions on our own. It's essentially, I think, what I hear you saying, because we can complain, and perhaps we can come to you more often as the chairman, or we can find other creative means to improve the infrastructure here within the town limits.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be perhaps talking about some of that tonight.
And that's a good point along that, is Jeff and I have our conversations. A lot of times we have to help ourselves when we can, because the cavalry isn't coming. And so until that, and so I don't want to get a call from the Secretary's office tomorrow morning about them being fiscally irresponsible. They are growing and they are changing, and I think they're recognizing that they have some issues to deal with as well. But nonetheless, it is a real issue. They are $12 billion over-programmed, and they won't be able to do this in the foreseeable future. And when I talk about foreseeable future, this project, as the timelines as I mentioned, put this project, it's already in the STIP, so it's already there. Its original horizon date, that's the delivery date, comes in two phases, two sections of 77. The first one is delivery date of 2045. The second delivery date is 2050. Now that's before the financial struggles that they have now realized and experienced. And so I don't even want to admit how old I'll be in 2050. They might have to have a wheelchair ramp for me, to get up and down that. But I think it's important to recognize that their situation, they have to get creative again in their finance. Now, again, we're not talking about any specific provider. We're talking about a provider, to bring something to them in a timely manner that they can't get done. Because if we look at the STIP and look at the challenges that we have with the STIP right now, the project might not see the light of day to start for 15 years or better, maybe even as much as 20 years. And then it's about a 6 to 7 year build on top of that. So you might not see what was originally slated or anticipated for 2045 and 2050, could be 2070 and 2075. That's a long way out. So as I've said to them before, I wouldn't want to be the one to go back to my constituents and say there is something on the table we should look at, but I don't want to because I don't feel right about it. But it's okay for you guys to sit in traffic for the next 52 years.
I think I'll just add onto that just one more piece is that when I hear things and when citizens hear that DOT is $12 billion over-programmed, what that says to me is that there's really tremendous amount of growth in our statewide. Not the least of which is our area. Earlier today at the railroad improvement groundbreaking, Commissioner Morey and I were speaking with the Chief Operating Officer of NCDOT. And he himself had admitted that after looking at the maps for this area, he was taken aback at the amount of growth that's happening in this area. And I mentioned to him, I thought we might see him around here a little more.
A lot more,
I hope. And so it's good to know that you're chairing your organization that is responsible for the funding of these road projects. And so maybe we'll see you somewhere too.
Maybe so. Any other thoughts and comments on the topic? You'll probably see a lot more of it. It's hit the news a couple of times, and some people are trying to stir up things that they're misinformed on it, and they don't have a good perspective. The document itself, the last agreement, I think somebody told me it was 1,300 pages. So I'm not going to be the one to sift through that page by page. It was like my kid used to say, we have people for that. But we certainly have to understand that. So I will bring you guys up to date. I thought it was important tonight to at least get you guys informed, especially as it may or may not hit the media a little bit more going forward. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, we don't have anything. We'll move down to public hearings on that. We don't have anything there. Old business. So I hate when they call it old business. It's not old business. It's always new business. So Lisa is our Planning and Inspections Director. This is on the decision on voluntary annexation petition 18227. Lisa, the floor is yours. Welcome.
All right, thank you.
Good to have you back.
Yeah.
You look refreshed.
Good to be here. I'll just wait a second. All right. This is a request submitted by Mill Creek Residential for annexation. It's approximately 24.154 acres. It's parcel 06162-024, located off Cuthbertson Road, east of shops at Howard's Mill. To the left, you have the subject property outlined in blue. You have our corridor commercial to the west, and employment center to the north. Both of those are within the town of Waxhaw. This is the third time you guys have seen this screen. This is the state enabling statute 168-31. We have discovered that the petition is sufficient. We called the public hearing. We sent out notices to the adjacent property owners and to the newspapers. We had the public hearing at our last meeting. We didn't have anyone come up and speak in favor or against the petition. So tonight we're on number 5, which gives you guys the authority to pass an ordinance annexing the subject property. And we are looking for a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-018. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for that. Yes, we have seen this lots of times. It's been a lot of work by staff, and thank you for keeping us all informed on this. And so if there's anybody that has any questions or discussion on this part of it right now, then please raise your hand, signify. All right, so we'll make it easy. We'll go for a motion. May I have a motion, please? No, one at a time. Go ahead. Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Simpson. Well, we've got 3 different motions to go after tonight. And so this one is to adopt the ordinance for annexation on petition. So if you'd like to start to make some comment, or Charlie?
I'm just going to point out that you need to adopt them in the order they are, because you cannot zone something not in your territorial limits. So you've got to adopt the annexation first before you can even get into the zoning.
Yes.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-018 for annexation petition 18-227 to extend the corporate limits of the town of Waxhaw.
All right. Any thoughts, discussion, Commissioner? No, see that? All right, so the motion is up. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Negative. Okay, very good. Thank you. Now we drop down to the next part. So Lisa, the floor is yours again.
So this is the same slide deck as the last meeting, so I'll go a little bit quicker tonight. Please slow me down or stop if you have any questions. It's, again, Mill Creek Residential. It's a request for conditional rezoning. It's from Union County R40 and Waxhaw Employment Center to CZR4. It's 2 properties that are approximately 33.8 acres combined, located north of Cuthbertson Road, east of shops at Howard's Mill. Again, you have the subject site outlined in red. It's heavily wooded with a lot of floodplain to the east. Current zoning map shows Employment Center to the north, corridor commercial to the east, or to the west. To the north of the Employment Center, you have Union County R40, and to the east, you have R4CZ, which is the approved Encore Townhome Development Project that was done through the county. So this is the most important slide. It's our future land use plan map. This is what we use to guide our land use plan decisions. We use this for population projections, capital improvement projects. We send this map to Union County Public Schools for their school projections, Union County Public Works for sewer, CRTPO for transportation projections. It has been vetted, it has public input, and was adopted. So we should stick to this plan as much as possible. To the top left, you have the Waxhaw 2021 Land Use Plan. It shows this area as a joint planning area. This is an area that we would concurrently want to work with Union County Planning to plan and develop properties. To the bottom portion, bottom left of the screen, is the Union County 2050 plan that was just adopted. They designate the area as community center and high-density residential, which includes mixed use of apartments, townhomes, and small lot single family located in close proximity to shopping and services. And then to the right is our Waxhaw 2016 comp plan. It shows the area designated as G3 intended growth sector. Talks about urban scale, mixed use patterns, in contrast to the typical suburban development regulations that you see in some of our adjacent towns. Again, you have the proposed site plan. It's a mix of 1, 2, 3-bedroom cottages, townhomes, and single family. This is a conditional zoning plan, so it's site plan specific. The developments, the site plan make up the zoning itself, and only minor changes can be made administratively. The last meeting, we talked a lot about traffic, so Kimley Horn performed a traffic impact analysis. Data was collected to make sure that the traffic from this project is sufficiently mitigated. Recommended mitigations are up on the screen, which includes the installation of a traffic signal as number 1. We also asked for a planted median along the north-south collector road for traffic calming and visual interest for the folks living in the community. Mill Creek has provided this graphic, which is kind of the bigger picture, and most important is that connection to Sunset Hill signal. This is something that the town requires that the county would not. The county would require a stub to the north. Anything in our ordinance over 100 units requires access to 2 different public roads. So this is very important that we're getting that Sunset Hill connection from Cuthbertson. We have over 30% open space, including 10 acres of tree save. Again, we'll look at the plan during construction plan review to make sure it's accessible, that there's public parks, plazas, trails, gardens, per code. We'll have on-lot trees, street trees, the required planted buffers, and then they'll have to meet the Section 6 requirements of our land development code for their elevations. The Planning Board reviewed this on September 20th. They unanimously recommended approval with the conditions on the screen. The applicant has agreed to these conditions and went ahead and made changes to the plan to accommodate their recommendations. With any rezoning, state statute requires that we adopt a land use plan consistency statement on whether it meets our land use plan and why it's reasonable. So a draft has been provided by staff. You guys can either accept that or amend it. And then we have 2 motions on the table. One is to adopt that land use plan consistency statement, and then staff is recommending approval of the rezoning. Again, this is 7 years vested rights, and then any other conditions that you guys would like to add, they would have to be agreed upon by the applicant and voted on and added into writing. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Well, I will concede to Commissioner Simpson since you want to have some comments, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So I wanted to open up a discussion, which I thought we were going to do these together. So just sort of bear with me with my comments or discussion. I really would like to start off by encouraging my fellow board members to approve this annexation petition, which we just did, and the conditional zoning request, and here are my reasons why. The land and the property will be sold, developed, and built upon. The question for us is under whose jurisdiction, Union County or Waxhaw? Union County's future land use map has this parcel classified for high-density residential development, which include apartment complexes and townhomes. Considering Union County has recently approved the David Weekley project, which includes townhomes adjacent to this property on Cuthbertson Road, it appears Union County will continue to approve high-density residential development consistent with implementing their future land use plan. Under the town of Waxhaw's jurisdiction, there are many benefits, which I have broken down into several categories to address the most common concerns that I hear from citizens. The financial impact. Housing units built on this parcel and the people who live on them will use our existing infrastructure, as well as receive first response from our police department due to mutual aid agreements. Under Waxhaw's jurisdiction, the town will be capturing the property tax base as well as money from the power bill funds for future roadway maintenance. This increased tax base means the town's operating costs can be dispersed and distributed amongst a larger number of taxpayers, more people contributing to the pot. Generating revenue through the issuance of building permits and inspections and fees. Currently, building permits and inspection and fees provide a little under $1 million a year to the town in revenue not based on taxes. Let me say that again. Building permits and inspection fees provide a little under $1 million per year to the town in revenue, not based on taxes. If this revenue stream dries up or stops, then this or future boards will have some tough decisions to make about cutting town services, raising taxes, or a combination of both in order to compensate for the $1 million a year lost in this revenue. Infrastructure and roadways, probably one of the number one concerns, and we heard that tonight. We're all aware that NCDOT has more projects than money or funding. And as a town, we are committed to solving our infrastructure and roadway problems. Unfortunately, we do not have deep enough pockets to self-fund all the major improvements necessary. We must collaborate and work together with landowners and developers to achieve solutions to our infrastructure and roadway needs. This project will provide an alternative roadway connection from Cuthbertson Road to Providence Road with a traffic light at the entrance/exit onto Cuthbertson Road. The traffic impact analysis indicates this connector roadway would improve the intersection flow at Providence Road and Cuthbertson initially by 25% and as much as 50% after the Providence Road and 16 widening project. Let's talk about green space and park. The town of Waxhaw ordinance require tree save and preservation, trails, landscaping, and walkability requirements, a dedicated 20% of the development to usable public open spaces, which includes trails, parks, plazas, playgrounds, and community gardens. Union County ordinances are not as stringent as the town of Waxhaw and will allow clear cutting, minimal tree save, and protection areas. Let's talk about schools. Throughout the development process, the Union County Public School System is not only updated on this project, but also provides their feedback, recommendations, and school assignments based upon their capacity levels. The timeline for this project to start is in 3 years around 2025, or it could be as long as 7 years into the future in 2029, which means that a child entering into kindergarten today would be in middle school, a middle schooler would be in high school, and a high schooler would be in college by the time this is completed. Let's talk about smart growth. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, smart growth principles include creating a range of housing choices, walkable neighborhoods, preservation of open space, compact building design, and creating attractive communities. This project clusters a variety of housing types in order to save more green space and trees while designing a walkable neighborhood and connecting sidewalks with trails. During our recent future planning session with Mitchell Silver, we learned our population is increasing largely due to migration patterns of people relocating here from other states and not through retention of our young adults. In addition, by the year of 2030, 1 out of every 5 adults, or 20% of our population, will be over the age of 65. This project provides affordable housing options and a variety to this demographics. Rather than focus on density, which is just a number, we need to place emphasis on the project's design, look, and feel. However, this project is about 4 units per acre, and that's not unprecedented within the town limits. There are subdivisions with comparable densities such as Alma Village at 4.6 units per acre, Hillcrest at 4.6 units per acre, Harrison Park at 3.8 units per acre, and Millbridge at 3.4 units per acre. Union County's land use plan, there is a potential for apartment complexes at 16 units per acre and townhomes at 8 units per acre, and with no guarantee of roadway improvements, green space, or tree-safe areas, trails, or connectivity. As I stated earlier, this parcel will be sold, developed, and built upon. By approving this development, we are closing a donut hole, increasing the tax base and non-tax revenue, as well as spreading the town's operating costs amongst more people, who will be using our existing infrastructure either way. In addition, we gain traffic flow improvements with a new connector roadway from Cuthbertson to Providence, green space, tree preservation, parks, trails, and sidewalks. Isn't it about time we take the initiative for the town's future, vision, planning, and foresight, instead of leaving it to chance with the county? If any of my fellow board members have a dissenting position or are not in favor of this annexation or conditional zoning request, I would like to ask you to state your position for the board so that we can take it under consideration before we make a motion.
A lot of information. It's great homework. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts, comments along the way? Any questions for Lisa?
I just want to address some of the things that Commissioner Simpson brought up. I understand a lot of your points. My personal feeling slightly different than yours. When we started, this was about, like you said, smart growth, and with the right timing. I think it's important to keep that in mind as we move forward, because the timing, while it may not be for 3, 4, 7 years, living today. I know you mentioned that earlier, but today we are already down that path that was created way before us. And it's going to be very difficult to move forward without being able to make some drastic, in my opinion, changes. Sometimes that will mean that what is obvious to some may not be what's best at this time. So that's how I feel. I understand you bring up a lot of valid points. I just feel that at this time, it's not in the best interest of the town.
Mayor Pro Tem, I see you lighting up there.
Yes, I am. Just forgive my voice. I have a sinus infection and everything right now. But to speak to your point, the previous boards that we have not had the foresight or willingness to see what is going to happen or what is needed in our future. They have not taken control or reins within their grasp to make decisions that were going to affect the town in moving forward. That is why we are in the position we are today. So when you speak to today, that is based upon past actions. We today now have the ability to take grasp of what is needed and what may be coming in our future so that we can make better decisions in our future for our residents. And if it is in our ability to do so and to the benefit of our residents to do so, then it is incumbent upon us to see what is needed in the future and take grasp and hold and make those changes and moves. This project is not going to be built tomorrow. It's not going to be built next year, as you've already stated and understand. It's going to take some time to come into fruition. But if we leave it to chance and leave that property there for the county then to do as they will or to build as they will, then once again, we are not looking to what we need for our future. And we are not looking to what then is in the best interest of our residents. So when you speak to today, today is a product of our past. But today, we have the ability to move forward and change our future.
Amen.
Oh, amen. Amen.
That was really well put, very eloquent.
Commissioner Westlake, any comments since we're
I
calling
don't
on
know
each
that I
other?
could say anything better than the other ones have. I mean, I voted for the annexation because I know Waxhaw can do it better. And so my concerns were similar to Commissioner Morey's, but when I took in the big picture, it was mainly because of what had been already approved by the county on Cuthbertson Road. And that's where my concern fell. But this project by itself is a very good project, and it fits the smart growth principles that I believe in. And so I have to kind of make a decision based on the project itself and not what's already been approved by the county further up the road.
All right. Good comments all the way around. You guys have all done your homework. Yes, sir.
If I could just add, getting back to Commissioner McMillan, it's not so much that the focus is just today, it's that nothing in the region, the immediate area, is going to change. And that is affecting the overall project at that location.
It's not going to change at this very moment. But we as a town are working together. We have our mayor who's already on the planning board for the CRTPO. We as a town understand that we have infrastructure issues. We as a town understand that we have roadway issues. We as a town took the initiative to put a traffic light right at Gray Byram. We as a town know that we have to make some roundabout changes. We know that we have to fix Pine Oak. We know that the ability is and the problem is now incumbent upon us to look to do that. But with this, moving forward, this is a step in the right direction. We are making other initiatives and other steps in the right direction to make the necessary changes that we need to. Are they all going to happen at this moment? Are they all going to happen tomorrow? No. But we have our town engineer and our planners who are working, who have brought projects to us. If we look at those projects and the needs that we have in moving forward, then we know what we need to do to help alleviate some of the problems. And some of them may not be alleviated by just roadway widenings. There are going to have to be other ways that we are going to have to move about in the town right now because of what has happened in the past and the lack of ability to see what was coming when you opened the door and they said, come to Waxhaw. That's how you got here. That's how I got here. Although I've been here now almost 16 years, but for the fact that they opened the gate and said, come and move here, without thinking about what was going to go around it, therein lies the problem. But we have a board who here now is forward thinking. And we are looking at what is happening, and we are moving with that to make sure that when we do approve a project, we are looking to see, are we getting anything with roadway? We are looking to see if we are getting anything with green space. We are looking to see if it fits in the blueprint of our land development code. So we are looking at all those avenues and areas, and we are moving within that framework to try and make the best decision possible for our residents.
All of you, well said, by the way. So thank you for all that. Commissioner Hall, anything you want to add on to besides the amen?
Amen again.
Amen again.
It was
Right.
good. And I think I'd mentioned this before. I've been talking about these various projects and others possibly in the future that are going to be, definitely in the future, that are going to be coming to us. And this was from a citizen in the town limits who understands the struggles we have and where we need to go with the future. And they'd likened it actually to small kids. I've got a 7-year-old. I know Commissioner Morey's got small kids. And 7, 8 years old is just it's a magical age. You want to keep them at that age forever, but to keep them at that age would be a disservice to them. It'd be a disservice to their future. And as much as it pains us as parents and stewards of the town to some respects, it's going to grow up, and so we have to plan for that. We have to plan for them to become older and be successful. And so much like in the town's best interest, the town's growing up too, and so we need to plan for her future also.
Yeah, I would agree on that. So we have in the past 3 years, we've designed what the town should look like. We designed and accepted and approved where we're going, what the future looks like. We designed and approved as a group the infrastructure plan and how to do this. And as the planning board has so deemed, this fits the plan. And so that's where we are, but very well stated by all of you. Thank you for all the homework on this for one. So any other comments, thoughts, comments, anybody? All right. So
I just want to re-emphasize the diversity of housing. We lack some of the lower price point homes in the area. Not everybody can afford $600,000 homes. I know I can't. And this provides that diversity of housing. And I know the people of Waxhaw aren't crazy about apartments, so this is a way to give those smaller housing options rather than getting apartment buildings like could have happened with the county.
And that's a good point. As a builder and developer myself, I mean, I'm always looking for where can I fit in the marketplace, and if the marketplace takes off, like some areas where your entry point is $1.5 million, then that precludes the guys who stood up in front of us just a while back, that precludes them from ever being able to live inside of our town.
That precludes our young children or our young adults from living here as well. From those who do not want the 4,000 or 5,000 square foot homes, but who do want something that is easier as an apartment or a townhouse to be able to live here. And we are losing that group of young adults in living here right now because we don't have any space for them or place for them to go. And this now will provide a place for them also to go and hopefully decide to stay here as well.
We'd like to have everybody stay here in the family, right? So anyway, so if there are no other thoughts, comments around the table, very good input from all you guys, and thank you for that. So at this point, I'm going to look for a motion on, motion number 1 is to approve the petition CD 013943-2022, so I'll let it go from there. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve petition CD 013943-2022 with all the conditions and standards listed on the plan and vested rights for 7 years from the date of approval.
All right, so that motion is up. I'm going to look for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 4-1. All right, we're going to go to the second part of this stuff. Motion 2 is to approve the draft land use plan consistency statement. So may I have a motion for that, please?
I make a motion to approve the draft land use plan consistency statement as presented.
Very good. That motion is up as well. I'll wait just for some clarification there. Very good. Sorry about that. All right, so that motion is up to approve the draft land use plan consistency statement. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 4-1, showing that Commissioner Murray opposed. All right. Thank you for that, by the way, all the way around. And Lisa, the presentation and the information that was presented here is, I'm going to tell you, it's unprecedented in our community. You guys have all done your homework good, in favor, and not opposed, or opposed to it. So thank you for that collaboration. That makes my job a little bit easier, but I don't think that would have happened before. So thanks for all the discussion. All right, new business. Wow, I get to say new business again. So I think we have Mr. Theo coming up on this one. This is the CRTPO grant application for North Broome and NC-16 and NC-75 improvements. So welcome.
Good evening,
The
everybody.
floor is yours.
I'm Theo Gatea, transportation engineer for the town. And tonight we're going to talk about the grant application for the North Broome Street improvements. Just some overview of the CRTPO. They are accepting grant applications through the end of the month for roadway projects. The engineering department has identified the North Broome Street corridor, which is also NC-16, and the intersection of 16 and 75 as a candidate project. We'll go over the plans and how the project will reduce traffic congestion along the corridor as well as increase safety for vehicular and pedestrians. Our plan is to apply for this with a 20% town match. For the improvements on North Broome Street, the project limits are from North Church Street, that's next to the vet hospital, going south to McDonald and Howie Mine Road next to the community corner. Our plan is to add a center turn lane along that corridor, which will reduce congestion as well as take the left turns off of the main line, so not all of the traffic has to stop for one person wanting to take a left, as well as the project will standardize the driveway access. I know we have a gas station that doesn't really have a curb or anything, that will be standardized as well. And the project will also add a sidewalk along the west side of North Broome. As part of the CIP, we had Kimley Horn do some preliminary engineering to help us develop some concept plans and estimates. This project is one of those. They've laid out a center turn lane along the corridor. Only a couple 100 feet of physical right-of-way needs to be bought, and there is less than an acre of construction easement, so thankfully we have a decent amount of right-of-way along this corridor. This is showing the vicinity near the community corner as well as the gas stations. This this is the area here along the vacant lot, just showing where it ties in there. The second part of this project is the intersection of 16 and 75. In this area, we will be installing a eastbound left turn lane, and where that is, that's in front of the Antique Mart, so people that are traveling east and want to go north on 16, they'll have a designated left turn lane. That turn lane is also a mitigation from the preserve, so whenever that development moves forward, they will have to contribute some funds to the project as well. By adding that left turn lane, it'll reduce queuing along Main Line 75. To fit this work within the existing road, the 12 angled spots that face the roadway across from the Antique Mart will have to be converted to 8 parallel spots. Then sidewalk will also be added for those spots as well. And based on the feedback from the traffic demonstration we did, we're not going to make changes to the southbound movement. We had looked at those dual lefts, and based on that feedback, that will not be incorporated as part of this project. So here is the concept that shows what these improvements will look like. It's really just that left turn lane and the storage needed there, as well as there is sidewalk adjacent to the railroad on the north side of 75 here. So that is a missing sidewalk in town, as well as you can see the angled spots that have been converted to parallel there across from the business block. The engineering department, as well as with Kimley Horn, we took these two concepts and we combined them into one project to get a cost estimate. The total project cost is a little over $4 million. Waxhaw will have to contribute 20% of that total cost, which comes out to $815,400. CRTPO's current schedule is to have design occurring during fiscal year 25 and 26, right of way during 27, and that should have been 27 and 28, and then preliminary construction schedule in 2029. That was an error there. The Broome Street Center turn lane was identified as part of Waxhaw's master transportation plan, and the improvements to the intersection were identified in a study that Union County did called the Union County Critical Intersection Plan. And just a reminder that the widening stops almost directly north of this project and is expected to be completed in 2031. So these could line up to have the whole corridor improved by then. Are there any questions on the project or schedule?
Certainly a lot of limited, or not a lot, there's limited real estate downtown at the intersection there at 16 to 75, and so curb to curb, and we all experienced, what the traffic would look like if it ran against the curb on the left turn eastbound lane. So pretty dangerous. I think it's certainly a more workable, probably more applicable solution to keep those. And then, yes, we lose a little bit of some parking when we have the angles, but sometimes those angles are tough to get out of. You can't see beyond maybe a sport utility next to it, so you can't back out as easy. So I think the solution is probably better than what we've ever had. So appreciate that part. Any questions, comments, or are you stopping mid-term here?
No,
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions. Go
All
ahead.
right, any questions for our engineer? All right, very good. So then, if that's so, then I'm going to look for a motion to allow our organization to go forward and make the application to adopt resolution as printed. So I'm looking for the motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution RES 2022-019, authorizing town staff to submit a grant application seeking maximum funding from CRTPO with a local match under the call for projects that will close at the end of October 2022 for the North Broome Street and NC 16 and NC 75 improvements.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. I think we're ready to, everybody, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, that was easy.
Thank you.
I'm almost waiting for a long storyboard to go along with all this, so again, thank you. All right, next up, thank you, Theo, appreciate that. I was gonna say, who turned out the lights in here, but I know, but it's getting darker. All right, so we have, next up, Ashley, welcome again.
Yes.
Got the endorsement of the application for a rural transportation or transformation grant.
Yeah, absolutely. So the North Carolina Department of Commerce and the Rural Economic Development Division were allocated about $50 million from ARPA funds earlier this year. These ARPA funds are used to support the Rural Transformation Grant, and it supports projects under 4 categories: downtown revitalization, resilient neighborhoods, community enhancement for economic growth, and rural community capacity building. The idea was that this grant help rural communities be able to rebuild after the COVID-19 pandemic. Eligible projects are in rural census tracts, and we have one here in Waxhaw that's south of 75. And then maximum grant awards can be up to $950,000. So we thought, working with our team here with Dina and with Melody, that our perfect project would be our downtown park. It supports projects that, retain businesses, that add parking downtown, that support economic development downtown, and then improve quality of life. And that's really what the downtown park does. So what we're asking for is your support in applying for this grant. As I mentioned, there's no match for this. So we're asking for $913,500 for this grant application.
All right, so
Yeah, pretty simple.
end of that presentation. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, at least, to not ask for any money today. What else are we going to ask for? So might as well go for it. All right, any questions for Ms. Ashley on this topic? We've talked about it a little bit before. I think we gave her direction to move forward on it. So I'll look for a motion for the approval.
Motion to approve Resolution 2022018, endorsing the Town of Waxhaw's application for a rural transformation grant for the amount of $913,500.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All the way around. Great, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you for all that work to get us there. We hope that'll give us something to be proud of later on, and certainly will add to the viability of our area down in the south end of town, which part of that is going to be our park improvement as well, as far as getting something done down there. So this will just add to that. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that. All right, town leadership reports. I'm going to spin it over to our town manager, Jeffrey Wells. Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor, and 4 quick items for awareness this evening. It's now late October, which means we're 3 months out from our January 2023 board retreat. So
Wow.
just around the corner. It comes around quickly. So be thinking if there are any big picture or even small picture items that you would like to discuss, let us know. And if you could do that in advance enough, that especially if we have some research or some type of review that we need to do. I'll tell you at this point, just piecing together what we have already, we're already pretty full on one day and through the lunch of the Friday. So we've got a lot of things we want to discuss and get direction on. So really looking forward to that.
I can see a 5-day retreat somewhere coming up really soon.
We're trying to stay in the day and a half, 2 days max. Waxhaw 101 is moving along. We've completed 7 weeks, and law enforcement is tomorrow evening, and with 2 more left, so it's going very well. Very engaged group. Understand the folks really enjoyed Todd's session on, I guess that was the 6th session. That was last Wednesday. He got to show off some of their equipment, some of their toys, something I guess some of us don't get to do in our sessions as much, so I know that's always fun. The Lindsay Meadows overlay was finally completed on Kensington Drive, so we're very happy to see that work completed. Still a small amount of residual work there. I think the crossing beacons, things like that, are left, but the asphalt overlay is in, and then the concrete median is in. So those are the main components that were required of the developer from that project. So we're happy to get that one scratched off up in that area. And last but not least, most everybody left in the room today was over at the groundbreaking ceremony for the NCDOT rail project. And for those of you that aren't familiar or still listening, it's the project that will it will build a bridge over the railroad tracks and over 75 in the vicinity of Helms Road. They will be closing off the at-grade rail crossings at Helms Road and Torrey Path Drive. Torrey Path will then tie into Helms Road, and then the connection will be made about 2/3 of the way down the road between where it is at Waxhaw Marvin Road and where it intersects I-75 right now. The timeline for the project has been awarded to Blythe Construction, and they're going to begin the project, as we understand, next month. And they should have the first phase complete by sometime in 2024. Once they get that complete, then the bridge and the new slight realignment of Helms Road, a slight shift to that, and then building the bridge over the railroad tracks and 75, and it'll J-hook back into 75 from the south side of the road. Also have a roundabout at the intersection of Waxhaw Marvin Road and Helms. That'll be part of that. I guess you would say it would be phase 2, and the total estimated completion time would be 2026 when it would be all ready.
Well, that's a big project, and as we had talked about this afternoon, be the first time that we'll have a roadway over the top of 75 and the railroad track at the same time. So should be no obstructions for our safety crews to get back and forth, and certainly our residents as well.
Yeah, that's a real issue that we have. We have to keep our resources on both sides of the track for the very real possibility, and it does happen from time to time when the train comes through and then you can't get through there.
And this was another demonstration of how much we've grown as a town and the professionalism that we've been able to display both to our community but to our community partners being NCDOT and CSX. I know Matt has worked tirelessly with them on every project, and I got to tell you, they've mentioned good things about their relationship, their feelings about their relationship with the town of Waxhaw. So you have probably the best collaboration between DOT, CSX, and a municipality that probably has ever been around here, ever. So Matt, whatever you're doing to them, keep doing it, you know. So it's really been, it's recognized. They all came up to us and talked about how much they've enjoyed working with our town. So we're growing, we're going to continue to grow, and this is just one part, again, that network of roadways that we promised to our constituents when at least this side here took office a couple, 3 years ago. We're developing and putting in together those puzzle parts that will, again, the bigger picture is the network of roadways, and this is just one part of it. So it was a very, very good collaboration, and again, thanks, Matt, for all the work. I know you just some days like to go home and go, I'm done, I quit, you know, that's it. But persistence, perseverance, and a good working relationship, thank you. That's right, exactly. WEAK, right? So anyway, thank you for that, appreciate that.
That's all I have this evening, Mayor.
All right, very good. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Jeff, I have a question for you, but it's actually more for Todd.
Oh, Todd's got to wake up.
I know, Todd. I have a question for you. So I noticed like everyone's starting to put their leaves in the gutter. When do we start the vacuuming? November 7th. So leaf vacuuming begins November 7th. I'm sure we'll have like social media posts. Okay, great. Thanks.
And we'll be introducing a new piece of equipment as part
That's
of
what everybody's excited to see. They want to
Yes.
go and watch it go by.
I think we need a video of it.
Yes, I think you do. Have you tried it out yet? I'm sure you have. How is it? Different? You mean you got to learn what all electronics are? Good call.
Well, and since we're on that subject, we're also in the training stage for we have received the street sweeper as well as the sidewalk sweeper, and so they're getting trained up on that, and then we will roll that out and market that to the town in the near future once we're ready to operate it on a regular basis.
I see a special Todd Matthews video coming our way. That's awesome. All right. Thank you for that. All right, now we get, oh,
Question?
there you go. Sorry, I didn't see you over there.
No worries. Jeff, I'm pretty sure the residents down in Torrey Path in that area are going to be notified. Will it be from the town or from CSX, DOT, about the work that's going to happen in the area?
The NCDOT Rail Division is handling all of those notifications.
Okay. But the town will not have any plan in notifying?
No.
Okay.
We would not.
Thank you.
All right. Chief Greg Collins, welcome back.
Sure y'all missed me.
We have missed you.
All right.
More than you know.
So last Wednesday was really busy around here. That Wednesday evening, we had the Explorers meeting going on. We had the Waxhaw one-on-one with Todd's crew, and community meeting getting up, organization trying to get one up and running. But I did poke my head in there, and I learned about alligatoring of a cul-de-sac. When it all cracks up, it looks kind of like a turtle. I just assumed you could pave over the top of that, but I was corrected. And also had no idea about measuring the crush depth when they drive the dump trucks over and all that kind of stuff. So it was, very interesting to me. So I think everyone in there enjoyed it. I've taken up a lot of your time, so I'll try to be brief, but there's a few other things I wanted to pass on from the PD's perspective. You may have noticed the news over the weekend about a call for service just outside of town about a resident suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. Our officers assisted Union County Sheriff's Office on the call, and once again it was Sergeant Feiga and Officer Ferguson and Weinstein. Afterwards, the daughter of this U.S. Army veteran reached out to Officer Victor Montavolo. She's a school teacher in Waxhaw, and he's the SRO there. And she shared an email again about how thankful she was about the service from everybody that was involved, the Sheriff's Department and the officers helping with her father. Just a real hard family situation for all of them. Speaking of our elementary schools, now that they've been in full swing for about 2 months, our SROs have been conducting, of course, the DARE program, but unfortunately in the world that we live in now, they're also doing safety and lockdown drills at the schools, and that's it's needed. It's a terrible thing that it is, but it is, and so we're going to do all we can to try to mitigate any of those threats and ensure that we don't have a fiasco like Texas. Our police explorers, what I mentioned, continue to meet every Wednesday, and I'm sure most of you saw them out at Autumn Treasures earlier this month. And on October 4th, WCNC did a very nice story about the fantastic young men and women that are members of the Explorer Post and their dedicated leaders. Looking at some training, our special response team and canines are the type of units that are high reward but also high risk. We've restarted regular SRT training 2 times a month and added a training day a month for the canines to bring them up to 2 as well. That is something that will continue at least as long as I am here. Finally, just looking at some calls for service from last month, there were 1,844. However, 61% of those were self-initiated activities by officers. Even though Waxhaw is the beneficiary of a low crime rate, being in the right place at the right time is essential. Overnight Saturday into Sunday morning, a resident in the Lawson neighborhood called in a car break-in that was captured on their Ring camera. Responding officers from our C squad blocked the exit to Lawson as 2 other officers located the suspects inside of Lawson and were able to take 3 people into custody. They were all from Charlotte. I'm sorry, they must have followed me down here. Recovered a gun, recovered some stolen property from our victims, as well as some stolen property from the day before up in the South Division of CMPD. So our officers have been in contact with their detectives to make some other cases on these guys. So they'll get what they deserve down here at least. And luckily, you know, because the officers were in the area, they were able to stop it at 4 break-ins total that came in throughout the day. I'm sure those guys would have broken into 50 cars if they'd have had the opportunity. So, you know, I'll just leave it with, if you see something, say something. Any questions for me?
It's great information to have. Thank you for all the updates all the time. I think very often, you know, we hear it from the law enforcement agencies. I know in some of the other jurisdictions that I cooperate with, they always talk about lock your cars, don't put your guns and your cash on the dashboard. You know, they just over and over again, and I'm just surprised that that still happens.
It does. When I was a sergeant at CMPD, I was assigned larceny from autos one time, and so I used to love clip art, and I made a flyer that said it's a car, not a closet, and we would go around at night and put them on people's windshields and stuff, because it's just amazing what people will store in there.
It really is.
Dina can testify to this. Owning a Jeep will stop you from that habit, because anybody can just walk in and take anything they want. So it's an easy way to live that way. That's all right. Well, thank y'all, and thank you again for the opportunity to bring the officers up here, and we will have one for the next one. Probably just go with one this next time, unless something fantabulous happens between now and then.
I think it's a great program, so thank you.
Thank you very
for putting that together. Appreciate that. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Miss Ashley, your turn.
Hi again. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the projects that our committees are working on right now, as well as just remind you guys of our Main Street committees and when they meet and what they're doing. So our design committee meets on the first Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. at the McDonald House. Right now they're working on updating our planters that are in the community corner. I'm sure you guys saw those today while we were doing our groundbreaking. So we'll be doing our winter planting on that actually next Tuesday, November 1st at 4 p.m. We're having our holiday lights installed downtown, so you'll probably start seeing that happening over the next week. Our holiday lights guy will be down in the evenings doing those installations, so that we'll be ready for the lighting on Friday, November 18th. Our promotions committee, that's the one that handles the advertising and events for downtown. They meet on the first Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. The biggest thing they've been working on right now are all the holiday events coming up. So on Fright Night, which is this Saturday, starting at 4 p.m., you can find all of the information, all of the schedule of events and activities on the website. And the website is waxhaw.com/fright-night. So you can find everything on there, all of the activities we have going on. But we will have trick-or-treating downtown from 4 to 7 that evening. We have 43 businesses that are participating, which I think is the most we've had. So it'll be quite a busy night downtown. Lisa's going to talk a little bit about Waxhaw After Dark as well, but the tickets for that event are also on sale on that website. Our holiday event sign up went out a couple weeks ago. So this is allowing all of the businesses to sign up for all of the events and activities that are coming up. Dina and her crew have a lot of events coming up in December, and we want to make sure our businesses have a good way to engage with those events. So we make sure we send a sign up out so that they can figure out how to engage with those events, what we expect from them, and then what they can expect from us for those events. So one of the fun things we're doing this year that's going to be a little different, we're doing a wreath decorating event. So typically in the past, we've given the businesses wreaths just to hang up. This year we're going to give them a wreath, but let them decorate it. They can decorate it for however fits their business brand. And then we'll be able to take pictures of those and share those on social media. So that'll be some really good positive holiday cheer to share online. The holiday lighting, as I mentioned, is on November 18th. We're just encouraging people to shop and dine downtown that night. So all of our shops and businesses will be open from 5 to 8 that night. Small Business Saturday is on Saturday, November 26th. So this is going to be a big event. You got a little sneak peek at our bags. So they came in today. So I wanted to make sure you guys saw those. So we'll have those tote bags available for shoppers at our businesses. We'll also be hosting a scavenger hunt that day. So people can walk around and look for, it's called the Elf on the Shelf scavenger hunt. Look for an elf in each of the participating stores and win a prize that's donated from all of those businesses. Then finally, the Touch a Truck event, we're doing another scavenger hunt that day as well. Something a little bit more kid-friendly. We want to get the kids and families in the stores, and we'll have some fun items for the kids that day as well. And then finally, our third committee is the Economic Vitality Committee. So that group meets on the third Tuesday of the month at 6. They have been working really hard on that parking study. So a lot of those volunteers spent their day with me on those 2 days that we counted parking for 12 hours. So we'll come and present those results to you, just so that you know kind of those counts that we had, so you can see those findings. We'll present that in November. And then finally, we have a ribbon cutting coming up too. So on Friday, November 4th, that's next Friday, at 4 p.m., we're going to do a ribbon cutting at Juice Up. So that's our new juice business that's located right next to Bernie's in downtown. We have several others that are in the works right now too, so keep your eye out for those invites.
Wow, that's a lot of activity.
Going
You got a
on.
lot going on.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions, comments? Commissioner Maury?
I just wanted to ask, how often do we audit the businesses to find out that we have a good email, a good phone contact, or any other way to communicate with them?
Yeah,
How often
absolutely.
do we do that?
Yeah, so I visit with the businesses in person once a month, and if there's someone in the shop, I can definitely get feedback that way to make sure that they're getting emails and communications. But anytime a new business comes in, anytime we get a new use permit, that's added immediately into our database as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I've been getting a lot of comments from people when I'm out on the streets out there saying, how do I get more involved in this town? It is so vibrant. They want to become integral to planning. I think you're going to have a lot more people than you think on the quasi board, if I'll call it that. I think there's been a lot of interest in that. So good job on putting all that together. Great presentation.
Yeah, the committees are definitely a really great way to just get your feet wet and volunteering in Waxhaw. So.
All right. Appreciate that. Any other comments? Sharing? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, next up. The long lost, no. Parks and Rec Director, Dina Sabinski. Nice event this afternoon. Thank you.
Team
NCSX,
effort,
thanks
as
you.
usual.
DOT, thanks you.
I'm glad they had a good time, and it was definitely informative this afternoon. So I'm going to give you an update on all things Park and Rec. We're going to start off with the Hero Project. It's tomorrow at Town Creek, and we're doing pumpkin craft, so 2:30 tomorrow. We're also starting up a new schedule of senior coffee, fitness, yoga. So please check out the website for all those wonderful activities for our seniors. And it is time to sign up for the Christmas luncheon. So Miss Joan is waiting for your phone call or your email. But we already have, I think, 50 seniors signed up already. So she is willing and ready for you to get signed up for this December the 2nd is at 12 o'clock at the Waxhaw Bible Church. So please join us for that wonderful event. Again, remember, Rec Desk is where you are able to sign up, and our website. And the program guide is still active until the end of December, and then a new program guide will come out for our spring and summer. Save the date for Veterans Day is November the 11th at 11 a.m. at our Wall of Honor in our downtown area. We've got wonderful speakers from our Veterans Coffee House that will be there with us that day, so we're super excited about them joining us. And then, of course, our American Legion. Then we also are a great partnership with the Ginger Snap Race. That is on Saturday, November the 19th. It's going to be a very early morning for Waxhaw, but we'll be cleaned up by 10 a.m. But again, the roads will be closed in our downtown for a little bit, and lots of little girls running around in their pennies for the race. Again, save the date for the December 2nd for the Christmas party for the seniors. Ms. Ashley mentioned the Touch Truck is on December the 10th, and that's going to be at the community corner. Our parade is on the 11th and lots of opportunities, and I'll be actually sending y'all some float entries for y'all to look at to see what y'all are comfortable on writing on. And then just again say thank you for all the team effort for this afternoon, and I appreciate it. If you have any questions.
Great job. A lot more activities. This is your busy season.
It is.
No doubt about that. And you've got a lot of events coming on. So one of the questions I was going to ask is how do you sign up for the Christmas luncheon? But you go to the rec desk, right?
Go to rec desk, or if you're having trouble with the website or the rec desk, you can also call Miss Joan or email Miss Joan, and she will be gladly help you sign up.
Great. Terrific. Any comments, thoughts? Thank you for doing such a great job. It was a great setup today. Everybody was commenting about how great it was. They just don't get to do that often, and we're getting really good every other week.
We're getting awesome at shovel-ready
That's right.
events.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, next up, Planning and Inspections Director Lisa. Welcome back again.
Ashley mentioned all the committees. We have Planning Board and HPC under planning, and I just wanted to take this time to thank them for their time to volunteer. We couldn't do our jobs without their recommendation and some of their guidance. So it's you asked about how to get involved. It's those committee members that give some good guidance to you all, make your jobs easier. So speaking of, HPC is doing some great work. We have they're partnering with the Main Street Committee this Saturday to host a walking tour of the paranormal called Waxhaw After Dark. Tickets are available. We've already sold 19 of the 30 that are available, so people are excited. Neil with Dream Chasers is the tour guide, and people can sign up on the rec desk through the town website. We went ahead and applied for CLG. We will hear back from them by December 5th as to whether we're a partner with them. And HPC has a new facade grant application for Michael's Realty, which will come to you guys in December. I appreciate the back and forth tonight about the rezoning and the comp plan. We are planning for our future, putting those puzzle pieces together. We're planning Waxhaw 2040. We had 2 meetings last week with the Waxhaw Business Association and the Parks and Rec Board. Great feedback from them. Our next public input session is next Thursday, November 3rd. It's at Dream Chasers at 5 p.m. We're going to have pizza with the planners. So we invite the public to come give some input. That's it.
That'll be fun. And I just want to say thank you for all the effort that you've brought to this team now in helping us and all the commissioners and myself with information, sound bites that we need to gather our thoughts together. This is really a good effort. You're going to get busier. There's a lot more coming to you, but thank you for being here.
Wonderful staff, and shout out to Janet Perano. It's her 1-year work anniversary here for Waxhaw. So.
Wow, already?
Yes.
That's really cool. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Board of Commissioners. Boy, we beat it up tonight really well. So I think that what I've witnessed here tonight is not only just respect and collaboration between all the commissioners and comments, but I want to say thank all of you for doing homework and bringing forth thoughts and comments on everything that we've talked about tonight. And as Lisa says, y'all make my job a little bit easier, and we can grow a little bit better and have a good plan in place and execute that plan. That's what it's all about. So I want to say how much I appreciate all of you guys for stepping up and being prepared, thoughts and comments. So thank you very much for that from me. So any other thoughts, commissions? Comments from the commissioners? I see that look.
Just had one, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Not to end the meeting on a down note, but I just wanted to call attention to this last weekend. The town, two specific families suffered catastrophic losses. So I just asked that the town hold these families in thought and prayer as they move forward. To go through that would be unimaginable, but you just give them a thought.
Appreciate that. We'll make sure we make mention of that next time around. If we can get a little bit more information on who, I think I know the one, because I think Jeff and I were sitting in a meeting with Fire Chief, and one of those calls came across, so we're aware of that, but we'll backfill the rest. Chief, if you could help us on that if we need to get those, and we'll have a moment of silence, maybe if those families would appreciate that, we'll go ahead and do that. So thank you for bringing that forward. Charlie, your turn, if you want it.
You make life fun. I just appreciate being here every meeting. I really do.
Well, we appreciate all the input. I know you get calls from everybody all the time, questions and calls, so thank you very much for being available to all of us. And
That's my job.
that's your job, by the word, right? By the word. So, wow. All right. All right, so there's nothing in closed session, so who wants to go home? Make the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Wow, all of you guys. All in favor?
Aye.
Say goodnight, Mary Ellen.